Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. I hope you've all had an okay Thursday despite the current market conditions. That's exactly what we're going to be getting into in this daily cryptocurrency market update. And you can probably guess what we're going to spend quite a bit of time talking about to kick things off. It seems Russia has indeed decided to invade Ukraine. Now, this is playing havoc as it naturally would on markets. We're going to be getting into that in this video because there is a lot to go through. We are going to be looking at some of the news headlines. We're also going to be taking a look at Bitcoin. We're going to be taking a look at the dollar. In times of panic, people will sell and they will go over to the dollar as a less volatile bet, if you will. We're also seeing the likes of gold benefit from this. Lots of cryptos are getting absolutely hammered right now, guys. Certainly your altcoins. We're seeing the likes of oil see a real spike today. And of course, we're seeing the Russian ruble and many of the sort of Russian stocks absolutely tank. It's really the fallout of what comes now that matters. And certainly, like I say, when I went to go and get petrol this morning, not for any other reason than I needed to get petrol, there was, you couldn't even get into the lot, which was certainly interesting. So this news has obviously a lot of people very panicked, and you can see that within markets. So the cryptocurrency market is getting hit pretty hard as a result of all this. It's not just crypto, it's markets across the board, ladies and gentlemen. The UK stock index opened down, and there's a number of other stocks that are really getting hit very hard. And the reason being is because it's a risky, uncertain time, as it is with the Federal Reserve and what they're planning on doing for interest rates. And also, there's just uncertainty all around, and this has thrown another spanner in the works. And it's really causing a lot of chaos right now. But you've got to look at the bigger picture. Ultimately, right now, my heart goes to the people within the Ukraine. Any, war isn't good for anybody except for the bankers, potentially. And the fact of the matter is that if we can take face value, and that's what we are going to do for the time being, if we can take all this at face value, that it has progressed in this kind of a manner, then, of course, it isn't good. Bitcoin slides below 35k amid Putin's calls for a full-scale invasion of the Ukraine. Russia forces invade Ukraine. Russia launched an unprecedented invasion of its neighboring Ukraine in the early hours of Thursday morning. President Vladimir Putin issues a chilling warning to the West, saying any country which tries to interfere would face immediate consequences. The US, Europe, and Ukraine officials have condemned the attack, with Ukraine's foreign minister calling for heavy sanctions on Moscow. And that is what is coming. We already sort of laid down the precursor to some of the more heavy sanctions that Joe Biden and the US had already laid upon Russia. It's going to be an interesting few months, potentially. Now, it doesn't feel right of me to say that there's opportunity here, but there is. There really is. And what we tend to find is if you go and look at a chart of a stock that's been trading for any length of time, look at when there's been geopolitical turmoil. There'll always be a sharp correction, largely fear-driven, before the train continues moving upwards. And that's generally what happens. And I think that this is going to be a similar style play. Certainly that's something I'm going to be taking, but it doesn't feel exactly right of me to be coming out and saying that, given, what many of the Ukrainian people are going to be going through now, sort of from here on out. So it's not a good day across the board. It's kind of, it's not the first time something like this has happened, and I'm sure it won't be the last. But people are now, you always get, when news like this breaks, you get a lot of speculation gripping. I mean, certainly if you look at Twitter right now, people are essentially calling this the next, big kind of war, if you will. Now, I'm not convinced that happens, but then again, I could be totally wrong. But we'll see. Ultimately, I'm still hodling through these markets, and I'm actually going to be trying to accumulate. That's my overarching view as an investor, because I see a lot of value, certainly within the crypto space, that isn't really shining through at the moment. And really everything is selling off due to what's taking place right now over with Russia and Ukraine. This is the interesting part about all of this is that we have the Fed that's talking about upping the Fed fund rate, which is the interest rate that they give out to banks, which then banks will add their own interest rates and factor that in so that there's always a margin. They were talking about tightening interest rates. They were talking about tapering off stimulus. Well, if the economy sees a downturn, which it's looking like that may be the case, certainly oil is a big one to watch, because whenever you have oil over $100, it kind of spells not such a great period of time. There's lots coming into. I've been listening a lot to economists, and they've basically been saying a few things. They've been saying that, you know, we're kind of between heaven and hell here, in the sense that we've got to work out whether we tip over into a recession, or whether the Fed wants to really allow inflation to continue. And up until this point, generally across the board in markets, the Fed have really stepped in at every kind of a, you know, the Fed's got your back, in the sense that every kind of a dip, when it gets a little bit out of hand, they sort of stimulate and you know, keep it afloat. And that's what many think is going to continue to happen. But whether it does or doesn't, you know, we'll see. It's very uncertain times across the board. This is why it really helps to have a kind of grounded opinion, or having done your research within what you're investing in. And if there's value there, there's value there. Price sometimes doesn't reflect that. So the crypto market capitulation slumps to 1.5 trillion as Russia attacks Ukraine. It's been a brutal day today. I mean, I woke up, I got woken up in the night from a number of alarms being triggered, a number of orders being filled, and a number of stop losses being filled. From the trading side of things, my HODL portfolio is exactly that. It's something I keep adding to on a week-on-week basis, and I'm going to continue to do, certainly when the price is lower. But on a trading side of things, these markets are a bit of a nightmare. What do we got over here? Crypto sees 242 million in liquidations within hours amid Russia-Ukraine crisis. So, of course, you know, you've got people that actually were looking to open longs, given the uncertainty that is currently in place. A leverage long as well. That's you can't get liquidated from a spot position. People were literally leveraging positions to the upside. I mean, it just doesn't make much sense to me. And of course, they've been liquidated, which has furthered the sell-off to the downside. So we'll see what happens. We will keep you absolutely up to date on this channel. You know, what's the fallout of all this? You know, Fed upping interest rates, can they really do it given what's taking place? Russia just sees retail deposits if sanctions go too far, official warn. So Russia are now sort of playing their cards and saying, look, we'll also, if you want to sanction us, we'll sanction you. And more importantly, we'll sanction your citizens. We'll sanction people from your nations in regards to their assets that they may have in association with the Russian Federation. Lots going on, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see how this plays out. You guys know my overarching opinion, and I'm going to say it again here, and it may not be a popular one. I think crypto does recover from this. I don't think we're entering a multi-year bear market like we historically have seen with the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory. I think we're just in a turbulent time, and there's opportunities that arise with that. You know, I think ultimately we do see continuation. We've just taken a different route to get to what, in my opinion, is still the same destination. You know, crypto is on this kind of adoption wave, and it's still very early within that. And, you know, it's the people that can really ride the volatility to the up and the downside that are going to benefit the most over the longer sort of time horizon. Dollar is seeing, this is a chart that you absolutely have to watch, is the dollar chart, because it's in direct correlation with Bitcoin and many other assets. And you can see, you know, people are sort of running to safety here. They're doing a similar thing with gold. Of course, oil. There's lots going on because of the sort of where the situation is unfolding, and we already have a kind of supply crunch with the likes of oil. We already have a number of things going on. You know, given what's taking place right now, may see further more of a bottleneck, more of a lack of supply being brought to the table in terms of the economic flow of things with many of your suppliers, and there being even more of a shock. I certainly think that's why the petrol stations were so busy this morning. It's kind of a bit of a shock, but I should have thought, you know, I forget that people, you know, people reacting like that to go and get petrol. What do you think they're doing on a kind of market level? You know, they'd be panicking just as much, and they'll be getting out of their position, and people will be speculating now, okay, well, does this escalate? Do we now see, you know, a real downturn or even more of a kind of crash given what could unfold? So it's extremely interesting. It is certainly an interesting time to be alive. It's been a crazy 3 years at this point, given everything that happened over here, given what this caused, and given what's now happening. There was a lot going on already in the world, and I kind of feel like in some ways this was quite convenient for some, this situation, given just what was already taking place. You know, there was people were already speculating on, you know, us entering some sort of a recession or you know, turmoil, given what the Fed were or were not going to do. So, you know, there's just so much at play right now. Your altcoins are getting absolutely smashed. The likes of Cardano is getting hit hard. This has been brutal 6 months for Cardano. The one thing that I'm personally very confident of is that we will recover. You know, I don't think that this is it for crypto. I think crypto right now, again, is just held hostage by the kind of macroeconomic landscape. And there is value there that is yet to be realized. And we played you that clip of Jeff talking about Amazon, talking about when its stock crashed, yet the company was doing amazingly, and how there was just a real disconnect between value there. But ultimately, if there is value in something, eventually it will get realized. It may not do that in the kind of time horizon that you hope for, but it will get realized. So on that note, we will keep you up to date with everything. You know, if we look at how, for example, the FTSE opened this morning, the top 100 stock index, you know, you can see it's been a hard day across the board. It's not just crypto. And crypto is a lot more volatile and speculative, and it has a lesser sort of liquidity pool. Certainly in times like this where it's low volume, it doesn't take a lot to push something to the downside. So that's really all I have for you in this video, guys. I will keep you up to date as the situation unfolds, trying to stay sort of as apolitical as possible on all this, and really just bring you the news and show you how it is affecting our markets, not just our markets, markets in general. We'll keep you up to date, and we'll probably start getting more aggressive with our updates, less length of time between them, just as there's a lot taking place. So enjoy the rest of your Thursdays. Don't let markets bum you down too much. It isn't a great day, of course, but we'll see how this unfolds. Remember, there's always opportunity. Be greedy when others are fearful, and vice versa. It doesn't feel right for me to say that, given what's taking place right now and how there are real individuals being put at risk and in a not very nice situation. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your Thursdays, guys, and I'll catch you all in the next YouTube video. Thank you very much for watching.